this just came out. The Kansas City Chiefs are franchise tagging Trey Smith. Sidebar to that big story, Jordan Schultz technically scooped Ian Rappaport. Their tweets came out like just saying.
He got him by an
I'm just saying. I thought that was the headline.
That's a checkmate. That's a checkmate.
Yeah, a little extra aggressive.
Let's get back to the Starbucks, people.
Yep, I can't wait. I'm going to Starbucks right now.
Oh, man.
He might come after you.
Let's go.
So here's my read on this situation, because the most people believe that this would not come to a franchise tag, or that they wouldn't tag him because of the fact that you're paying a guard tackle money when you tag somebody.
Right.
But the reality is the tag is $23.4 million on 1 year. And I'll tell you what, yesterday I heard that that's kind of what the number would probably end up being, somewhere on in the APY, if he stayed with the Chiefs.
Right.
So I'm reading this, like trying to read the tea leaves on this. Like, so most of the information that I've heard over the last 4 to 8 hours, from the moment Brett Veach said it in front of a microphone to also just conversations here in Indy, it's like Trey Smith's probably going to stay with the Chiefs. I think the tag is still somewhat surprising, but my read on it reminds me of Jalen Johnson last year with the Bears, where they tagged him, but it did not feel like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Anything but a negotiation?
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was an argument between the two sides. Sometimes the tag is just a tool to extend the conversations, and I don't think that the Chiefs and Trey Smith are on the same page right now in terms of the exact number. Otherwise, the deal would already be done, which I think I said earlier in the show. But I don't think they're far off. So if you think about how that played out last year with Jalen Johnson's team and the Bears, it never seemed like it was going to be a huge problem. Sure enough, shortly after getting tagged, the long-term deal was agreed to. I think that's ultimately how this plays out with Trey Smith.
I'm just waiting for Greg Braggs to apologize to both me and you for his take earlier that the Bears had a chance.
That's a good point. That was earlier in the show.
Yeah.
See, and here I was sitting here thinking about how
negative.
How
You're
everything
a negative
we said
person.
earlier in the show aged very well, and I forgot about the fact that you tried.
Should we get Jonathan Jones over here to apologize as well?
No, he's
just do
because
the apologizing tour for takes on a very fluid and
creative way of getting out of what you said.
Well,
anytime you like throw something at Greg, he needs to redirect it at somebody else.
No,
Jonathan Jones doesn't deserve a stray here.
It's not a stray. It's not a stray. This high-stakes poker situation, and the Chiefs decided to put all their chips on the table. And any Bears fan right now is rightfully disappointed, including me. The Bears needed a quick fix on their offensive line. Trey Smith was that quick fix, and now things get a lot more interesting on how you can attack free agency. So I won't pretend. This is extremely disappointing for me as a Bears fan. This was a match made in heaven, a guy that has high character, high leadership, plays violent. We need a guard. We had the money, and now, poof, he's franchise tag. Short of a sign and trade or a rescinding of the franchise tag, this is no longer an option for the Chicago Bears. And so the quick fix of this offensive line that was sorely needed, that Ben Johnson alluded to about the Carolina Panthers last year, picking up 2 of the top free agent guards and having somewhat of a turnaround of their offense in their season. The Bears are going to have to get very creative.
All right,
there's still options there.
Yeah, who do you want to see them sign?
You got somebody, Greggy? I think they should fold the franchise because Trey Smith is tagged by the Chiefs. I think this is it. There's no chance that the Bears will ever be successful. We can't do it without Trey Smith.
Well, we mentioned Jonah Jackson, who's the Rams have given permission for him to seek a trade, as a guard and a guy that has history of Ben Johnson. I've brought up before, Kevin Zeitler as anybody that understands how Ben Johnson wants to execute an offense and understands what Ben Johnson's standard is, I'm all for. And then, of course, when you look at the center position, and I think how important it is for that person as Ben Johnson said yesterday with Big Cat when they did that interview, a guy that can help set the table for Caleb Williams when they get to the line of scrimmage. I don't know if that is a rookie center. You'd have to be a highly intelligent and up-to-speed rookie to come out and be ready for that responsibility. So to your point with Ryan Kelly or Drew Dahlman or some different options there, I think a veteran center is exactly who they need to attack now as priority one. And when we did our needs last week, I did have center as the higher need over guard, even though the best player was Trey Smith as a guard that was available free agency. So center still, to me, is priority number one.
Look, Will Freeze is 26 years old. He's now at the top of the list. I would think the Bears, if they were going to be in on Trey Smith, will be in on Will as well. I think that's the natural pivot. I have been talking about Ryan Kelly with no inside information from anybody within the Bears that they'd be interested in him. But I like a veteran center as a stopgap while drafting a center that you can get ready for next year with a different offensive line coach. To me, that makes a whole lot of sense. I would have been totally fine if they had gotten Trey Smith and paid the freight. I get it. This is where they're at. But I do like for the Bears right now that you're going to have to do this building it the right way and keeping flexibility down the line for positions of need and not overpaying for free agents. That is okay. So it's not exciting and it's scary because they haven't nailed it in the draft. But if you're really trying to think about a sustained winning team that goes to the playoffs each year, having that flexibility is going to matter, and hitting on the draft is the way it's going to happen, and using free agency to augment it, not save it, which is this, to me, would have been like a saving it move.
Sure, but as Benjamin Albright said, like in free agency, you're paying A+ money for B+ talent. But this wasn't the case with
that's
Trey
why Trey
Smith.
But that's also why
A+ money for A+ talent.
But that's also why they franchise tag
100% understand.
Because you just don't let those guys reach free agency.
100% understand. 100% understood. So, it's, again, disappointing, but very rarely you're saying, oh, it's not good, pay guard that much. But he would have been worth every bit of the money as opposed to paying that A+ money for B+ talent. So you don't always get guys like that to hit the market, and he didn't.
So, as I said earlier in the show, in case you missed it, before we had this news, the two offensive line names I would keep an eye on for the Bears are Drew Dahlman at center and Kevin Zeitler, the guard for who played for Ben Johnson with Detroit.
As a very expensive camera just fell and crashed on the floor.
I've never seen and this is behind the scenes, it's probably not going to translate, but there was a significant camera that just fell right behind the dude who's hosting, and he didn't even flinch. I would have jumped out of the seat. This dude just kept doing his show.
Well, unlike you.
That's a pro.
Unlike you.
I don't understand. He didn't even move. Like nothing. He just kept talking. No, he's a little bit of a loud talker, so maybe he didn't even notice it. But that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've never seen that level of focus in media history.
I understand your shock because you are incapable of doing what he just did.
Right. If somebody snaps their fingers 3 seconds, my head turns. This dude just had a hurricane explode behind him, and he didn't freak. Yeah. How's that possible? Yeah. Who are these people? Yeah. I'm never going to be successful.
Boys in the pocket.
That camera's built like a tank. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
That was unbelievable.
Just to move it back on this conversation a little bit, you're going to save about $25 million on Trey Smith right now because you can't get him. I mean, for me, I'm looking at some possible free agents here. You could re-sign Tevin Jenkins. You could sign Drew Dahlman. And you could go after a guy that we know Ryan Poles has already won it before, and Matthew Judon, who's a free agent. You could fill 3 needs with that money that's left over now from Trey Smith.
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to allocate your money a little more spread out now that you're not putting all your money into Trey Smith. I also think that it opens the door back into this conversation of, is that number 10 pick going to be a left guard, right? Is it going to be somebody that, like we've talked about, Will Campbell or, Gray Zabel, like that? To me, is lofty, yes, but at the same time.
Zabel, but yeah, I hear you.
I would love if you draft Zabel, put him at center. We talked to Charles Davis about that earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is, it's going to be interesting. As I said, constantly talking about the hypotheticals all offseason can get nauseating. at least we are starting to get answers and we get clarity. I know you're big on the I told you so's and the I called it's. But for me, I like to just have our answers, react to it, and then prepare for the season. I
like to just watch actual football.
That's what I'm telling you. Watch football, which we won't be doing for a long, long, long time.
What, you're not going to watch the UFL?
I'll watch the UFL. I will.
Kinda.
We all silly like the mayor.